Okay, we're going to start tonight's meeting of the Board of Selectmen. That's May 6, 2025. I'm Bob Carlson, the first Selectman. Also, we have Selectman Brett Mastriani, Selectwoman Nicole Porter, and our Finance Officer, Admin Finance Officer is Suzanne Thero. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I've mentioned getting new mics when voices never sounded better. Unbelievable. Okay. Is there any public comment, either in person or online? Is there anyone online on any non-agenda item? No public comment? Okay, well, so I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from April 1st and April 25th.
Make a motion to approve April 1st, 2025 minutes.
I'll second.
Discussion? None, all those in favor of approving the April 1st minutes, say aye.
Aye. Make a motion to approve April 25th, 2025 special meeting minutes.
Thank you. And is there any discussion on the April 25th minutes? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Selectman comment. Is there any comments on either selectman?
I have two different comments. So just to let you guys know, and I mentioned that I would bring it up. I did go to the Affordable Housing Committee meeting, the last meeting where they started talking about the development between Meadowwood and Route 2 in the gas station. And there seems to be a lot of concern about it. But I did say that I would let you guys know that the majority of people speaking were really concerned about it and want to make sure that we do our best on reaching out to the communities and hearing from the input, especially from the neighbors, because that was a really big concern. They're really concerned about the flooding aspect of it. And one thing that did come up in the meeting that they did notice that there's some kind of mound on there that was created at some point that is contributing to some of the flooding because it doesn't let the water run when they were looking at things. So I did say that I'd bring it to you guys' attention that maybe that's something we should be looking at to get rid of that mound to begin with, aside from the project, if that is one of the causes of the effect. But there were some people that were very upset about it, talking about their basements always flooding, the concern and whether the town could look in at the bigger picture of what causes that. We know some of the basics of what caused it, but look at a bigger picture of what might be causing that, because it is affecting residents in that area aside from that project.
What in particular?
What's that?
What in particular were they? Is it just the fact that they can't imagine a development going there because of the flooding? Was it? Sounds like that they want the flooding kind of addressed. That's my neighborhood, so I have to drive through that floodplain to get to my house. But what in particular were they? I had just seen. I had two people approach me and certainly saw some things on social media when they saw kind of the markers where they were doing the testing. And people were asking, like, what's going on? This is in my backyard, kind of a thing. So I just want to understand the people that made comments. What was it exactly?
So the flooding was, I would say, the number one issue due to parking lot, of what the parking lot would look like, all that stuff. I did let them know on our side, we've only approved the digging of test holes. It's a long process. to get it approved there, and there would be a lot more input from the community. And also the scope of the project, I think we're concerning to some, the amount of units and the height of the units, all those things that make neighbors nervous. They all express the need for affordable housing in the area, but they're concerned about that area. But the flooding was the number one concern. So I said I would bring that forward to us, at least let you guys know that was the big one. And then today I did receive an email, or actually a text message from a resident of Meadowwood, and they wanted to voice their concerns about the parking enforcement. I guess some trooper was out knocking on some doors for people that were parked, I don't know, in the median, which is not legal. But they expressed the concern of when they park on the side of the road, one of them has lost a vehicle because it being tight, and that the driveways aren't really conducive to more than two cars there. So I said I would mention that here, and maybe that's something we look into, and what kind of parking we could do for that area, because it is a concern. I just said I'd bring it up at our public comment, and maybe at a future agenda, say, hey, can we look at the scope of what parking could be okay, or is there a way to take out part of the medium and make part of it parking? I'm seeing Bob smirk at me, but it was just concerning to residents that say, look, we really don't have other options.
I was giving you a little background. So I've sent out multiple letters. Seems like for every one person that parks in the median, there's 10 other people that call me that, hey, there's a car parked in the median, you shouldn't be there. I've sent out multiple letters to residents that live near the front. Usually it's the first 6 houses on either side. Some of them just come out of the driveway, drive right across, and out they go. I was a very nice letter saying, hey, in the wintertime, we could plow you in and damage you, and I don't want to pay for damaged vehicles. And in the spring, when it's wet, you're going to create grooves with your tires, and it's tough for us to mow because we try to mow it to make it look nice. And if you're going to have the occasional party, gathering, first communion, whatever, I expect cars to be parked there on occasion because you're having a party. But when you're not, and there's 2 or 3 cars in a household, you're going to have to figure out how to park in your own front lawn or somewhere, because that median is to beautify the entire development. And I'll be honest with you, every time we get a new person there that doesn't know it, and they stop parking, I get all sorts of phone calls and letters saying, hey, can you go see so-and-so at this house number? They're parking there, or they're driving on. Instead of going up and turning around and coming back, to just drive right across. So it's been going on since I first took over. When I put the signs back in, the past first selectman didn't appreciate that I put those signs back in, because he took them out. But I think since that's town property, and I've never said to a policeman, go there and enforce it. I've never said that. So if he's in there knocking on doors, I don't know who that is, but I've never told him to go over there.
It happened today, and maybe he just saw it and he decided to knock on doors. So but it might be a future discussion where we send out surveys to the residents. I don't know what the solution is, but I agree with you. It was making those medium areas run down looking. It looked rough, right? If that's to beautify, but it might be something that we want to have the traffic commission or whatever we have.
I will just say that there's a lot more negative when someone's parked there than there is. But there's more people complaining about people parking there than there is that do park there. You know, so it's usually when I send a letter out, it's a very nicely toned letter to say, hey, you might not have known, but you're not supposed to park there, and the reasons why. And then we find out later that they stopped parking there. But it seems like every time it's happened, somebody that's new that moved in the neighborhood didn't know that you weren't supposed to do it, because the neighbors kind of police it themselves, say, you're not supposed to park there. So maybe one of the neighbors called the trooper and said, hey.
Yeah, I mean, the person that texted me is a longtime resident of the town in that flat, in that development. And I'm not speaking in favor of people parking there. I'm just saying maybe it's something we could discuss, or have someone look into the traffic authority. I know we are the traffic authority, but don't we have a subcommittee?
Yeah, we have a traffic committee, but we could have the residents all get together themselves and send a representative to say how they voted, whether they want to have parking there or not.
Yeah.
They can kind of police it themselves.
Yeah, and maybe just put it on a future agenda item, and people come and speak their mind. or maybe, as I was driving here today, I'm like, maybe one of our little municipal owned parcels, we make a small little parking area for residents of the community.
And then we
with
made
extra
it in front
parking.
of this house, but not this house.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I
that
mean,
maybe-
this is like
maybe
the
there's-
leash law, on and off the leash thing. It just, there's a lot of things we have to worry about.
All I know is-
I take it under
I'm
consideration.
doing my due diligence about bringing it forward. from
On
a
the first
resident.
part you mentioned about the meeting, I did talk at length with Will Mason, and I got a nice email from somebody that said, I just want to say that your chairman of the Affordable Housing Committee ran that meeting very well, very professionally, did a lot of listening, and it was a well-run considering there was so much negativity. I got a two-page email from maybe the same person who talked to you, and I sent them a two-page email back on all the reasons why we were just looking at that site and some of the swings and misses we've had in the past. I said, no matter where the Board of Selectmen want to put affordable housing in North Stonington, unless it's right on 95, someone's going to say, we really need it, but not here.
Not my backyard.
And I did mention that I talked to CLA, who's doing the engineering on this, and said, well, I will not accept anything that's going to cause additional water to those houses. If anything, can you look for ways to relieve water from those houses? So I think some of it is too, it's just, when you have a house and then there's nobody, there's nobody behind me, there's woods. But luckily for me, I own those woods. But if I didn't and someone wanted to put something there, I mean, I'm used to having woods there. I mean, someone could have built houses where I have to farm across the street. It happens. So yes, they've had this wonderful field and woods behind the house, and it's great. And I know not there, but other places in off Ravenwood where people have extended their yards into town property. It just happens.
Yeah.
And we're not going to send like zoning police out there to say, hey, your picnic table, your fire pit's on town property. But it's been nice, but sometimes things change. And of all the places we've looked at affordable housing in North Stonington, this seems to be the most viable so far. But I assured them this is going to go through, as you said, a series of meetings, public hearings, and we'll get it all out. And just like we did Winter Chalk Hill and some of the other ones. But yeah.
No, and I agree with whoever wrote that letter. Will did a great job running that meeting and, trying to listen. And it was the most well-attended affordable housing, smaller meeting compared to our town meetings when we talk about affordable housing. That's one thing. But as far as affordable housing meeting, it was probably the most attended that I've seen in all I can remember.
Did you have comments since you live in that neighborhood about either of those subjects, by the way?
I have a lot of comments, but none that I regret. But one of my big concerns, I'm trying to remember when we talked about the rendering. Where would the entrance? It's not on Route 2, right?
It's on Mystic Road, yep.
Yeah, so that is one of my biggest, that entrance, that can be a very clogged up area sometimes, where we have the light, but you have cars coming in and out of both the Kingswood development and the section development. That seems congested, right? People coming in and out of the gas station, that is, other than the fact that has literally been underwater.
Well, it's when we dug the pits, and we dug them, I was over there, they were doing it, and we found almost no water, and then we dug them 8 feet deep. And we did it in the spring. I said, you're not gonna do this in the fall or during a drought, do it when it's the wettest. That's when you get a true picture of how much water, and almost every hole is fairly dry.
Do it tomorrow. Let's see what it looks like.
Well, actually, it's right after the rain, but anyway, so that was a good comment, and whoever you spoke to and the one I emailed, I assured them there'd be much discussion about this.
Yeah, no, I spoke to the whole audience because they asked a question at one point of where we were on the selectmen side of things. I think that's part of the communication too, is some people thought it was like a done deal, and this was like, it was definitely moving forward in this, and I think, the more we explain it, and like I said, Will did a great job to try to bring it back to, hey, we're exploring some of these things, and then I see Brian's on the line, but he spoke out against it as a board member, a committee member.
Affordable housing with
The new property.
neighborhoods.
Well, the thing is, so the people that say that we don't have enough units, we're adding units.
Yeah.
It's the 10% thing we can't get. It's one step forward, one step back. If you do 3 affordable housing units, but you put in 10 total, that's 7 that aren't affordable. So it just keeps your percentage down. But if you're on the side of the fence, we just need more units. Ron's been adding units. I mean, we've been adding quite a few units. And both affordable and non-affordable, because they said there's nowhere to live, but, so he's added 5, 11, well, about 20 houses. At the end of the year, we've had like 20 houses, not counting the 16 down at Lake of Isles. And there's another person, Falco Development, across from Ron at Lake of Isles, building multiple houses. So there are houses being built. But as far as that whole 10% thing, and I'm not saying that, we just said, let's test it to see in this particular project if it's even viable, do the test bits. Because if it's not viable, why even talking about it? So, is there anything else you want to talk about? Okay. 2 quick things. One is, well, one, I want to just say that I want to thank you both for getting us through this budget season. I think, when I said last night, it's so exciting to say for the 4th year in a row, we're going to have a mill rate that's either slightly increased or flat. We've actually decreased it 2 out of the last 3 years. And not many towns can say that. And I think it's because of the way we do business as a board, and the way the Board of Finance and the Board of Education does business. So it's I think it's a pat on everybody's back in town leadership that we come up with another budget for 4 straight years that I hate to predict, but I can't imagine it wouldn't pass. And kudos to those that were part of the process, the very long process. And next, I have some correspondence from Connie Barati. She just said, "Good morning, I'm submitting my resignation as an alternate member of the EDC. My time commitment no longer allows me to participate in this committee. I appreciate the opportunity. Perhaps in the future I can add another thing to my list of my to-do list." It's Connie Barati. So obviously the registrar's position's taken up a lot of time, and she's stepping up, and she was an alternate there. So that was, I received that from her. Okay, so tonight's meeting, there's nothing about the budget. A thing for a change. I'm just trying to do this as a catch-up meeting because we've let some things slide. One of the first things I want to discuss is our IT situation. I might have Suzanne jump in on this also. So we, at our last meeting, we talked about the possibility of looking at some contracting out to some services. We have had 3 very good companies that we've interviewed: Star Computers, Apex Technology, and Savage Systems. All of them deal with towns in Connecticut. 2 seem to, even though they're all very capable, 2 seem to have risen to the top. Star, and they're out of Niantic, and they do Preston, they do Franklin, they do Sector, and they do the Council of Governments. And they're very familiar with Connecticut law. The other one that rose to the top was Apex, but they're out of Cranston, Rhode Island. They do Voluntown, but the only thing I would say that the reason Star, we're still waiting to get all the pricing in so we can compare, because it's a price issue, obviously, too. But the one out of Cranston, I'm just afraid they may not be as familiar with Connecticut law. So when the Secretary of State makes a change or Hartford makes a change, I know Star's going to be up on it. Even Savage, the one that does Brooklyn and Brooklyn and another town up north, maybe it was Thompson. I think a Connecticut-based company might be more intact to know what's going on. Like there's a new directive that we have to change our camera where the mail ballot. I think this all comes from the Bridgeport situation that happened a few years back. And the camera has to be positioned so you can see people putting in ballots into the box that's outside the town hall. The one we have now, you can see it, but it's from behind. The state hasn't wanted a certain place. Well, when I talked to Star about it, they've already done that for other towns, so they're familiar with it. Where when I talked to the people from Cranston, they weren't familiar because that's not happening in Rhode Island. So anyway, the good news is we're finding, I'm very confident, I think Suzanne is very confident, although she was at wit's end today a bit because she was getting IT calls left and right, and she was saying, "Bob, I'm getting nothing done because I'm constantly just, the trooper's computer wasn't going, the assessment's computer wasn't going, registrar's computer wasn't going. They couldn't talk to the state. It was nonstop, and Yeah, Susanna, and she's pretty strong, but if there's ever a chance for a meltdown, today might have been close. So, I'm looking forward to getting some numbers, pulling the string on this, and again, there's still gonna be some discussions with the union. I think we can, what's best for the town is to get someone in here sooner instead of later, even if it's for 6 months or a year, and reevaluate where we are as far as a single IT manager versus a company that does this for other towns. I'm just looking for feedback from you tonight to say, hey, if this makes sense, go ahead and do this, or is there something else you want to talk about?
I think it's something that when the numbers come in, I think we should all look at to vote on it. But then future, should we have on our next agenda an executive session to talk about the contract negotiation? Because we are changing the contract with the union potentially.
We sent them.
And since it's a negotiate, we can do that in executive session to understand where we are.
Well, we sent them correspondence to say that we want to do this, and we haven't got backlash at this point from them. They understand it would be an exploratory, short-term situation.
So like even this discussion, I think we should have an executive session at the next.
Why we're
meeting.
talking about the position, not a person.
Yeah, but it's still about a contract.
No, yeah, we're not talking about a contract. We're talking about a position, not a
Yeah.
person.
It's not about a person, but it's a contract, and we can do that in executive session.
So, but
I-
we're
I
elongating.
see Suzanne shaking her head a little bit, so I don't.
Because we're
I don't know.
elongating the process, and I think that this is something that, and I don't want to disengage the Board of Selectmen on this, but I think this is something we need to work on sooner instead of later. Suzanne, you plug a microphone, did you want to say something?
I agree with both of you. I think this is critical. We need to act on it now. We can't wait a week or 2 weeks because this has been going on for months. And with a service situation, which we talked about in the past and where we're at right now, we have to act. But it is also a union position. So if it requires an executive session to talk about it, we are in negotiations right now with the union to get more detail and to look at these contracts. But whatever decision's made, we just have to do something now.
And honestly, I don't mind doing a special meeting quickly to do it, but I would like to look at the numbers and have that before okay, because it would just like if we were budgeting for the position, we would discuss it in numbers compared to just giving it okay. But I'm okay with a special meeting, whether it's a Zoom meeting or whatever.
You may
where
have
we
to
can
do that. The good news is numbers are coming in under what the position pays, which might be an issue with the union. It's coming in less than we would pay a full-time IT manager what we budgeted for. So we're not going to be exceeding the budget that could get approved in 2 weeks. But I don't mind having a special meeting. I guess we can do a special meeting Zoom, but have a part of the executive session.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like, and,
So we might want to do something then. I would say today's Tuesday by week's end, because I hope to have numbers by tomorrow or Thursday.
Okay.
And it would be great that, especially for Suzanne and Town Hall, to get something on board so we can get some.
right. And I understand the urgency, so I can do something Thursday afternoon or Friday morning, whatever.
Thursday, we have that bus thing.
Yeah, I mean, late afternoon.
I won't be able to. Let's do Friday.
Oh, that's right,
we
the swinging club.
Friday we can do something. How's your schedule Friday? In the afternoon. We can do it by virtual too.
Yeah.
And if it's virtual, I have to have an agenda by tomorrow anyway. So, notice.
Virtual only unless it's an emergency.
Say that again. So if you have a preferred time.
I
we
can
work.
do Friday morning, like first thing Friday morning. Yeah.
Can I, the school position, was that a union position?
No, it's not union.
And then how many hours are we looking for? For this contract?
It's basically a full-time 24/7.
So is that?
Because there's not a body here that whole time.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to understand. So I hear staff talk about how, it's great for the school, whatever their issue is of the day, they get to call up and just ask for that particular resource. So how quickly is somebody able to get here, right? Not working, and they're. How long do we wait?
We're looking at a turnaround time of about 40 minutes for them to get on site.
If they, if that's if they have to be on
If they
site.
have to be. Right. From what they said, it's about 95% of their work can be remote. And then there's that very small percentage where they'd have to come on site.
But it would be, it would be full access to them 5 days a week.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then what about anything after hours?
It could be if we told them we needed somebody at meeting nights or something, put that, yeah, have to contract it out. They typically go from, say, 7 in the morning until 5.
Yeah.
That's most of the time, except for this room, that's the time. Are you all set Friday at 9? 'Cause
That
you
works
had
for
something
me.
here that said discuss FOI request.
Oh, we can move that.
Okay, move that.
Yep.
So Friday at 9, I'm good. So if you want, I can have, Jen put in the agenda for you, and then tomorrow, if I do it before 9, I get my 48 hours notice.
Okay.
You can do it, I can have, do it on Zoom, but I get to do it for the Zoom link.
Right. I can create that tomorrow before Jen comes in if we
And
have
we
to.
can do a portion of that meeting can be an executive session.
Yeah, and you actually can do it at any time tonight and say agenda to follow. The agenda has to be posted within 24 hours, but the meeting notice has to be 48 hours.
And so we can do that tomorrow before 9, it's still 48 hours, so, and then the agenda's gonna be one item agenda, right?
Right. I can do that tomorrow morning.
Okay. All right, so that'll be it, so we can maybe make a decision by Friday, and we'll have our numbers. Yeah.
Okay.
contracts.
And then whatever you guys can do, send out ahead of time, like the company names, or any information so we can,
I could send you out what I have so far tomorrow.
yeah, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, so that's where we're at. 1750 house. Okay, so the 1750 house, a couple of things I want to talk about. The past person who just left, Patrick. We did a walkthrough, myself and Alan. I think he had the place professionally cleaned, pretty much spotless. Except for a couple of Mike's droppings on the counter, but we've since had Griggs and Brown there. Griggs and Brown's gonna add 1750 house to the town's buildings. Because of the mice, whatever else happened to be running around that place, but, anyway, that's good, so it wasn't expensive. The original cost was, I think it was $450 to go in there and just do the whole thing, and then they'll quarterly go back and inspect it. But not only did he leave the place clean, he left oil in the tank, and, there was nothing broken, nothing scratched, nothing, it was all great. So I have to say, for the next tenant, we left in a really good shape. Had some shortcomings when it was, I mean, wonderful boy. Had some shortcomings when it came to like screwing in a light bulb. I exaggerate, but he wasn't mechanically inclined, let's say. So we did have to have our crew go do like water filters and things that most homeowners would know. That's okay, because he's a great tenant, paid like a clock, and it was all good. So what I have tonight is, I have a cover letter from our one and only person who applied. I also have 3 weeks, 2 weeks. A copy of the, nobody's name on it because we haven't voted on it, I think, but it's a copy of the current agreement with the updates as far as pricing that we talked about. I did sit there with my wife from 7 o'clock, from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock on Friday night, and from 10 o'clock on Saturday until 1 o'clock for open houses. We had 2 advertised open houses. We had one person came to the open house, who was the same person who sent this letter. And there was no one there on Saturday for 3 beautiful hours, sitting there in my chair in front of the house, watching all the people with dogs without leashes go by. So, and I didn't know this, but somehow there's a piano in the pavilion.
What?
Yes, I heard people playing it, and I put my camera on, I enlarged it, and there's actually a piano in the pavilion. I don't know how it got there. It was too wet for me to walk across the grass. And I don't know how it got there, but there's a piano up there. Yeah, I don't know why. So, It's not my piano. I don't know why I was there.
But it's our,
I don't know, but I don't know whether someone brought it there for an event and then they just haven't picked it up yet. I don't know. Well, I haven't checked to see if it's still there since Saturday. Um, No, Alan said he saw some truck marks that backed up to the pavilion. So someone had to, they didn't carry it across the field. So in the packet you have from Patrick Austin, to whom it may concern, letter which you can read. And he is our one and only. I had some other people that dropped out for whatever reason that expressed interest in the past. But I think that my own opinion, Patrick was the one who showed up, by the way, to look at it. And loved it. He's here, so he can speak on it if he'd like to. But I think that we'd probably be the perfect tenant for more reasons than one, he's local. His children go to our school. He's very handy because he's a contractor by trade. I think there'll be many times that if something small happens that he can fix it, I won't even hear about it. And then if there's something that's greater, then he can call me and we can talk about what the price would be and I can run it by you guys to see if we want to contact him to get it done or not. In his letter, he mentioned that he would probably be more competitive than most since he lives there. He'd be living there and be easier for him to do things while he's there. I think the letter speaks for itself. I think he represents himself as being a wonderful tenant. And the thing is, there was one person that was interested, and they only wanted it for 1 year. And I said, well, if I find someone that wants it for more than 1 year, then that would outweigh that, because I wouldn't want to be renting this thing out yearly. And in Patrick's letter, he mentioned he would like to be there minimum of 36 months, and then with an option probably to extend. And that's, you've got the letter, so we can ask questions. And since Patrick's here, if you want to ask him any questions, you're more than welcome.
Oh, about the
Lord's
art?
Own House?
Yeah,
so nothing
No.
more from that, okay. Yeah,
And
I
there's,
love the story. I love that it's not, it's so hard to stay in Northwest. It's like the houses and
yeah, I agree.
there's
And
been
I-
no change to this except for the number, the price, that's all. I didn't
Wha-
touch it.
Yeah, one thing we do need to change, there is one change I would request we make.
It is.
So by law, we have to allow 9 days for late charges. It's a minor change, so I would just.
What do we
initial it.
allow?
5th day, so they changed in 2023 to go to 9 days.
So once we decide on a candidate, I was gonna have them come in and go through make sure they went through this, they can have someone look at it if they'd like to, before anybody sign anything, but.
Yeah.
So where is that on here, Brett?
That is,
Oh, 5th day
clause
late
5,
charges, clause
clause
6.
5. Oh, yeah, clause 6, sorry.
So then it has to be 9 days.
Yeah, but as far as the candidate, I mean, I personally know Patrick for years. The quality of person he is, so I have no issues with that. And that we have had it out there advertised for a while. Bob, as the #1 realtor for municipal properties,
I'll tell you,
staying
I
for an
know that-
open house, that's impressive.
Well, the thing is, I know the history, so it was more of a history lesson
Yeah.
to anyone that walked through, right, Patrick, than it was,
And I will say one part that really I liked in this letter, is the fact we all know it needs some work every now and then. So having someone that would do it at the right price, that's licensed, and that we don't have to worry about it inconveniencing the person that lives there, I think is helpful.
not that this is right for it all. Do you have pets right now? I love the line.
Well, he's got some kids there. I don't know, they're like that.
Yeah, but the kids aren't even little.
Right.
I love the one cat or dog up to 8
Yes.
pounds. I want to see that 8-pound cat.
so what Patrick, the other Patrick did, he brought in 2 cats, 40 pounds each, but we put the $1,000 deposit down. And there was no damage. Yeah, so I guess it's one animal for 80 pounds, or you could slide 2 at 40 pounds each.
And one question outside of the person, do we still maintain the mowing of the property and all that stuff?
So
or-
we maintain, when we do the field, we do that front area. That's
Okay.
it. Anything what's in the fence, the tenant usually took care of.
Okay, so they're, okay.
Yeah, and
all right,
if you go by there, you see all sorts of tulips and things that Patrick, the other Patrick.
Patrick one.
Yeah.
Side entrance?
No, if this Patrick didn't come forward, I probably would have asked you if we could hold off renting it out until July 1st. I would have tried to get somebody in. We did get a price a few years ago. I would have to put it back out for an RFP. And then we had 2 members of the youth farm committee said they would be willing to even look at doing it, Bob Dunn and Rick Wood. But then when Patrick became a candidate, I talked to him and said, maybe there's something you can look at. I showed it to him the other night. And the way I'd like to handle it is, instead of taking out of his rent, he would just pay the rent that he normally would and so on, but then he would contract us as an invoice, and we then, just like we were bringing the contractor in, to keep everything clean that way. And give me a quote on pricing for labor and material.
The painting, I was concerned about the painting on more so that garage, the carriage house side.
We power washed that, and it looks a lot better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but the house does need to be painted, and there could be room in the Capitol once this gets passed this year, and it is on the agenda to get that painted. I did have a painter look at the town hall building, that house, and the shack at the rec center, and the back end said it was too much work. Not that we have to quote them together, because we don't.
But maybe if we do, we get better pricing from a
That's why
bigger
I wanted
company.
to look at all 3. But I definitely want to get the town hall painted this year. Worst case, town hall this year, the house next year, but we're doing both really well.
Okay.
When are you looking,
So I'll make
you've
them,
already toured it,
And the nice thing is it's already been cleaned, so I don't have to bring a cleaning crew in.
so inside of the, or anything like that?
There's a couple of touch-up spots, but that's because when we put the new windows in and they put the plasterboard in, there was 2 places that didn't even get painted, but it doesn't deteriorate from the house at all.
so I'll make a motion, but first, are we looking for a May 15th rent? What's the date we're looking to,
I would say whenever he's ready.
within the,
We just prorate,
right,
Yeah, that's what I did. Well, actually, Patrick moved in mid-July. The first month we did 1,200 instead of 1,600 so we can just do that too. So it really depends more on the tenant and when he would want to move in.
yeah, I just don't want to push it till September.
No, I don't
so,
have to
right.
push it at all. I mean,
Okay.
the house is ready to go, so.
All right, so I'll make a motion to accept Patrick Austin's application for the 1750 house.
AKA the John D. Yellow House.
second,
And I don't know, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So Patrick, what we'll do is
it's
when you
gonna have a blast.
when you get a chance, stop by, we'll go through the agreement. I'll make that change that Brett suggested on the late days from 5 to 9. And other than that, just, you can look at it, bring it to someone to look at it, come back. Once you sign it, I'm pretty much ready. I think you have a copy anyway, but you can take that one if you don't. Now, if you want to look at it at home, bring it in, you say I'm good with it. And then I'll let you decide when you want to move in and we'll prorate it from then.
Thank you.
I think the house is in good hands.
Glad you can stay in North Carolina.
He was excited.
Like you in your letter, to have that be your front and your side yard, and be able to hang out there.
I was like sitting there in the chair with Bitsy on Saturday, it was beautiful.
It is very nice.
Absolutely, we are truly blessed.
Even the dog's running off the leash sometimes.
And he said he will actually keep an eye on the kids spinning the tires in the field for him.
That would be a huge benefit.
We are gonna put cameras up, but we had them at, unfortunately, one of them got put board inside and didn't work, so we'd like to put one on the carriage house and one on the house, just so we get more
Yeah, with the cameras though, I think we also have to be mindful of the tenants' privacy to make sure that it's posted just on the field and not on the.
Yeah, that's all. Okay. It'd probably be helpful for him too, to know that somebody else is watching from afar. We're not watching the house, we're watching away from the house. Okay, so that's good news. We'll see you when you get around to getting to me. and
What-
figure it out.
One last thing before we move off the 1750 house discussion technically. Is there still stuff from the historical society in that character? I know they were
On
removing
the
some.
second floor. there
Yeah.
is, Yeah, and we've always said to the tenant, I said to Patrick, you can put what you want on the first floor, the second floor is locked, just leave it like that. What is, they took an estate, they didn't have a place to put the plane, there's still some things.
But
up
so
there.
it's still up there. Do they insure that stuff up there? or
I
how?
don't think they even insured the historic society.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not sure. Okay, so that's all good news. Thank you. Thank you, Patrick, for looking to, wanting to
Can we
live there.
stay on the 17th and not go to the
Okay, so, so the mini
My
excavator,
favorite topic.
that's so nice, I love nice things. So the mini excavator, this is something that Selectman Mastriani's been pushing for.
I should clear, I haven't been pushing. I do think it's a great idea, but it came out of expenditures and things like that.
Okay, so you're not pushing for it.
Well, I mean, in support of it, yes. And
Strong support. All right, so the good news is, and this is not quite official, but I've got a number of 93,111.35. That's how much money we made in the auctions.
wow,
$93,111.35. And that includes the 2 trailers that Costello bought. The only thing that's not on there is the existing excavator, which we'll be selling right after the fair. Because we let them use that excavator to move things, and I didn't want to have them use a new one. We got a new one before then. So then we said, Alan seems to think we get maybe another 10,000 for that. It's too big to use on the roads. Because all the different weather we have now, there's a lot of flooding. Alan's a big one for putting in culverts, cleaning basins, putting in piping. And a lot of it would be able to do with Town Aid Road and moves up money, which is good. But he needs an excavator to do that. The one he has is so big, it just is too big for the roads. It would just break up the road. Having the size that Brad's talked about and Alan's talked about is much smaller. It's not a Kubota by any means, but so far he has 2 prices, and we're waiting for a third.
But we could legit see 100,000 from the sale.
we should,
Yeah, we're 93 now. We should get maybe another 10. Yeah. The 2 numbers he has so far, one is from Bobcat, which is 109,874.41, and one is from Chadwick Barrows, which is 129,783. Do you have copies of these?
I do not.
Brand new.
Those are my copies. You can have them. Yeah, but they're brand new. They're on the lot, and they had like get today, tomorrow. So I'm not saying.
Not refurbished, right?
No, but there's still a process. We'd have to agree to ask for an appropriation. I'd have to go to the Board of Finance and get an appropriation. And the fact that it's more than $20,000, I'd have to go to the town. No other way to do it. That's the way we have to do it. And then the one thing I fear about the town meeting, and I'm glad we're having this money coming from the auction, is I hate the look of just having a budget, because the Board of Ed did this a couple of years ago. And the budget passed, and they came in and looked for the big increase for the business manager at the time and change of title. But the difference between this and that, we've talked about this now for 2 months. We've talked about to the Board of Finance
Right.
saying that, when we get this money from the auction, we wanted to buy an excavator. Just the way it fell. And it's actually beneficial for the town not to put it in the budget, because we're gonna pay for it. We're not financing it, so it didn't go in the budget and then get paid for it to come out. We're just gonna pay for it. And that, so it doesn't impact the budget at all. So and we're almost putting enough money into the undesignated fund to cover the cost.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. We've been talking about this for probably almost a year now when it's all said and done. So in my mind, we want to move, the reason that I asked to put it on this agenda is also to get it in front of the Board of Finance as they're talking about the undesignated account and numbers. So the last thing I want is for them to make decisions on undesignated account, and then now we put something through. So that's the point. But I do know, and Alan's online, is that he has a lot of work coming up in the next few months that he would be leasing a Mini for. So the idea is not to keep leasing, to put that money towards this, or renting, I should say. And then I do know a lot of the manufacturers, it might be slightly different. I know one of these quotes, it might be slightly different when we get some of the government rates on, or the municipal bid list are doing 0% financing for an extended period of time. So it might be one thing that we can get the appropriation for, but we might not want to take it all out of the undesignated account if it's at 0%. So that's something Bob and the team would figure out down
Where
the
else
road.
would it come?
What's that?
Where else would the money come if it's not undesignated?
No, out of the but I'm saying if it's 0%, why do you want to take it all at once if we're not paying, if we're making interest on the undesignated account? So like one of these quotes says 0% on it, but I know a lot of the manufacturers are doing that currently.
Well, the other thing is,
So you're talking about financing it.
Well, that'll be a decision after the meeting, but it's just the Board of Finance will talk to Bob about how they want to.
well, the other thing is I would have to write up an appropriation for this for us to vote on.
Right.
And the thing too is, I know you said that he's gonna be releasing or renting one shortly, but this is somewhere by we're gonna have hopefully for a number of years.
Right.
You know, hopefully it's 10 years, 15, whatever, how long one of these lasts. So I know we want to get it quickly, but does it make sense to try to force it through quickly right after the budget, or can we get it in a couple of months, 2 or 3 months from now, knowing we're gonna have it for the next 10 years? I would, even if it's costing us to rent one for the next 2 months, and let's say it costs us 10 or 15,000, does that make sense to just do that? And then we get a brand new one coming in and midsummer we're gonna have for the next 10 seasons, the next 15 seasons. So I know that you want to push it quickly, but I'm not so sure that if we were just doing it for short term, I'd say, yeah, I get it, but we're gonna have this hopefully for a number of years.
So I'll disagree with you on on that a little bit. That this isn't a push. We've been talking about it for a long time, and I don't see why we'd want to spend even $3,000 more when we know we need it, and that we'll be renting it if we're on the page of moving it forward. The Board of Finance might want to hold it up, but I don't see why we would want to hold that up, and then rent. To me, that's throwing good money after bad, because the whole point of this is to save the taxpayer money in the long run.
So when did you want me to bring this to the Board of Finance? Are you talking about as early as the 21st, when they're talking about the mill rate, or are you talking about their first week meeting in June?
No, I even think at the mill rate. Just, and maybe they don't vote on it that night, but they know that it's there and that it's part of, it could be coming out of that undesignated
So I have to
account.
get the pricing, and then maybe if we have that meeting on Friday, it'll be a two-item agenda. And I send you the appropriation request with the pricing that we vote on at that meeting, and then I could ask Mike to add it to the agenda on the 21st.
Yeah, and I'm open to that. I am even open to doing, and I don't always love this, but open to say an up to amount. And the only reason I would even say that is because you're really the oversight. I don't love to say that to to the highway, just to the highway department, or to a commission, but to you as the oversight of that, I would be open to that. But I think if we're having a meeting Friday, why not?
We
do
might
it
have
then?
a hard number by Friday, so number just has to be discussion and vote to purchase an excavator,
Right.
or ask for an appropriation for an excavator. So the hard number might not come in until Friday, which is fine, because we can talk about it. If I'm out of town that night, are you willing to present this to the Board of Finance?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Because I might be. Want to do it?
Sure.
Hey, Alan, are you on?
He is.
Yes.
The first time you'd be looking to rent the excavator for work you have planned in the next couple of months? When's the first time that you would need it?
So right now I'm trying to hold off as long as I can. I'm glad we didn't rent it this month with all the rain, because it'd be sitting, sadly. But I mean, yes, the sooner the better. I'm gonna be getting stone and gravel. We just put that RFP in. So once all that stuff's in, I'm gonna say probably the end of June, right as the end of the year. So I'd say the beginning of July if it's dry. I'd love to start then if we can get everything here by then.
Is the excavator available immediately, or is this something we have to order and wait for?
So the Bobcat dealer has that one there. Chadwick said 2 weeks. And the other one, I'm waiting to hear back. I haven't heard anything back from him, so I'm waiting to hear back, as well as a time frame and if what the price was.
Do you want to work with Brett on this as far as pricing and availability? So if you're telling me you're not going to start working until the beginning of July, then I don't know why we try to rush this through by the 21st of May.
Well, because we have to call a town meeting. That's why.
So what we could do, there's some things that we normally do in the fall that I can move, like there's the $1 million agreement that the selectmen can borrow the money. There's the LoSiP we can do, which we typically do in October, November. I can move it up, I guess. I don't have anything to do.
Within 5 days of the meeting. Yeah, but we have to give the paper 2 days leeway time to get it out in the paper. So
But
it's 7
We
days.
have 14 days, we have to have the meeting within 14 days after we call it, but 5 days for the newspaper.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm fine voting to bring it to Board of Finance.
Okay, so on the 21st. So you want to vote on this on Friday and bring it to them on the 21st?
Yeah.
Why do you not vote tonight?
Well, I don't have an appropriation and we don't have a price.
Do it up to,
Again, I don't have an appropriation written up. So
You can write up the appropriation, yeah. But if you're more comfortable as voting on it Friday,
I would think,
let's do it.
I'd rather have it written that way
Yeah.
and send you I can email you a copy of it and we maybe can have a harder number.
Yeah, that's good.
and the 21st is the first time that
They meet on the 21st. So we know they're gonna meet because they have to discuss that'll be 2 days after the referendum. And I think I could be there. If I'm there in time, I'll just do it myself. But if I'm running late, you can do it.
Yeah, no problem. If I need to.
All right, so why don't we do that on Friday? I'll add that to it'll be a 2-item agenda. It'll be the IT and then this. Next discussion. So the RFPs, there's 3 of them that kind of got away from me. 2 of them are the steep grant RFPs for the 2-story wing roof and for the HVAC. When we first put those out, the roof came in at about $50,000 more than we assessed. It would be in the original steep grant application. Since then, oil has dropped a little bit, so I'm hoping we can get multiple quotes and get somebody closer to the $204,000 that we estimated. It came in at $257,000 the first time, so I tabled it. Second thing is we had someone help us write the RFP for the HVAC, and then they didn't bid on it. So we had no bidders for the HVAC. So I talked to Alan, and we're going to try to get multiple bidders for that. I think we budgeted that around $17.5. That was 2 years ago. So I'd like to at least get those RFPs back out. But the deal is with the steep, we've been approved. So what the town has to pay is 20% of the project and anything over what we were awarded. So
And that money's earmarked already, correct? Right. And with the mini splits that I'm looking at here, if we don't get bids on them, we can reach out for pricing, right? From multiple vendors and see if we come in under those numbers, right? Or, I mean, Alan could.
yeah, good.
Okay.
But then who's going to do the install? You're going to have them do the install. What's the difference between that and having, I don't understand what you're talking about.
No, what I'm saying is if we put out the bid again and nobody bids on it, we should be able to go out and solicit quotes on it because not every contractor and licensed installer is looking at bid lists. They really aren't always looking at. The ones that do a lot of that are, but there's ones that could install this stuff that just might not be looking at the bid list. So I'm just saying, if we don't get a bid, instead of burying it again, let's,
Oh, is there any reason why we just couldn't go to bid right away and not go to RFP on the HVAC?
I mean, I don't see why not. We can get multiple
Does
quotes
the,
on it,
does
because
the
we
s-
already put it out. I feel like we already put it out once and didn't get it.
Does steep require RFPs, do you know, Suzanne, or can we just do bids?
Well, it depends on the division that's supporting this steep grant. So for instance, the Department of Economic Development, they required an RFP on the irrigation project. We also had to put the bid out on the CT Source state bid list. So I'd have to see what entity oversees it and then see what the requirements are.
Okay, so I guess what I want to do tonight is just see, yes, we still want to do this, correct? So I can move forward
Yeah,
with it.
I mean, it's a steep grant. There's no reason not to in my book.
And then we haven't heard about the last steep grant we applied for, which is not good news, because they said we'd hear by the end of April.
Where are we on the sprinkler system RFP?
So that RFP just went out today.
Okay.
And there was delays from the Department of Economic Development, and we just finally got approval. So that went out. So hopefully, I think it's June 5th is the deadline for the bids.
That's strange that one went through the economic, compared to,
Well, for the
So
irrigation
weird.
project in the fields,
yeah, the last year's steep grant. Was it 2 years ago?
yeah. So this is the same one as the HVAC and the roof. It's
Okay.
the same packet of the steep grant.
And we actually got awarded that, I think, November 2000.
Yeah, because when we did the parking lots, that went smoothly with the state in the RFP
There was a
process,
lot.
but that was a different oversight board, which
Right.
it's strange that this one falls under economic development.
Plus,
Yeah.
this one had a delay with SHPO because of
Right.
property being possibly historic, and then we had.
Prevailing wages,
Wages,
yeah.
and there's a lot to do with this one.
Okay. So we don't have to motion, we've already,
We already did, I just want to
Right.
bring it to your
Okay.
attention, and then the second one is the third one. So I had a quote from AJ when we looked at the tunnel, what it would cost to repair the tunnel. Not that we we're gonna do it this way, but I thought using the quote, we could do an RFP there's money in town maintenance, building and capital to do this. So it's not like we gotta ask for anyone to do this. If the money that goes through, the money goes through in this budget, gets approved, we're actually gonna have $76,000 in that line. If this quote comes, this RFP comes anywhere near 40, I still have plenty of money to paint the town hall. With the money that's already approved in the contract.
and this one isn't state money off, right? So,
No, there's nothing.
so we don't have to abide by some of the other requirements of,
There's no requirements here with the state, because there's no money coming from the state.
okay. Yeah, so
This is all in-house.
So with this one, what I would suggest is that we put it on our website, put it out on social media too, and maybe we get other local contractors with license, obviously, to bid on this, and maybe that price comes down even more.
I'm just gonna use, because we did a walkthrough, and we know what the repairs should get done to make that acceptable tunnel to walk through. I'm just gonna use this quote as a guide when
Yeah.
we write it up, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay, and it could be that the same company might wanna come in and bid on it. So I just wanna refresh your memories that we had these three out there.
And yeah, and I think this one's important to look at too, with I know some people don't want to hear it, but the additional use of the tunnel over the past few months. That would be, yes. I won't mention that name, but yes. Because I do notice, and I don't know if it was a change with the school, but more students parking on this side. Bob, you know when that happened? It seems like recently that whole lot now seems full.
It seems like
People are
as the
walking.
students are getting older, because it's later in the year, right, so the senior parking lot, which is the dirt one over on state property, as more and more people get their licenses and vehicles, there's not enough room, so they're starting to come in.
So
It wasn't like that in September, October.
Yeah.
It's more like that now as we get towards the end.
So is that something that we should monitor a little bit? So when students park on the school side, they have to provide like their car's insured, all that stuff, and they have to like register to be able to park there. They don't in the dirt lot because it's a state property. It's for the park, really. But now that this is this how do we consider this? Is it, we consider it different than the school property? It's town property, but do we have any
Well, it's
concern or
actually-
not really?
It's really not a lot different than school property because they are operating a school in this building and they're both town property. So I don't know whether, I just think the school should handle that insurance and not the town should be involved.
Right, so should we just at least ask them to monitor who's parking there? I don't know if you
And
want to get
I don't know
into
what they
that.
have, I don't know what they have for systems or what they, what the requirements are for senior parking.
Yeah,
I know you can lose senior parking. if you screw
right,
around.
and I know they're assigned over that other side, I'm just, didn't know if we should at least make sure that we're covered. Well, we gained spots once Alan did that extra parking lot, but I think, yes, I think there's not as many as there was total, because remember, when we were using this side, we had here, that whole side too, right?
And I would say during the school years, because we've had kids that age, I think between September and the end of the year, there's probably 20 to 25 kids get their license and have cars. And who doesn't want to drive to school? Right, so.
And I don't even know if it's a concern, I just think that if that's monitored, or you at least have to say, hey, I'm bringing a car to school and doing that, the way around it was the dirt lot, but to me, this seems like we're utilizing it as a school parking lot almost, and maybe we should at least do the same process, or they should do the same
So
process.
I
for
can talk
over
to
here.
Troy and see what their
Yeah.
process is and make sure those kids are covered. So it's not under our insurance. should be under the school.
Yeah, and maybe a detailed description that they have to use the tunnel, right?
Or what are you trying to cross the street different?
I'm just saying, if they're treating it like the dirt lot, anybody parks there and does whatever, maybe if it's a little more formal, hey, yeah, you park there, but you're using the tunnel. And just, I would just hate to, kids running around, and it's only because I've seen a huge uptick in the amount of kids utilizing that lot.
I'll talk to Troy about it. Okay, are we done with RFP projects for now? If we are, we can go into tax refunds.
So I'll make tax refund $2,313.22 to Kathleen and Michael Poirier, Mildred Borden, Jeffrey Whitehead, for Logic Centralized Refund, Dan and Brenda Pavo, Ally Financial, and Jeffrey Reed.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion on any of these?
I do have one discussion.
Sure.
Did we miss this one at some point? Because it says second request.
Which one's that?
It's for Jeffrey Whitehead. So on the actual form, it says second request. I've never seen that before. So I'm just curious if,
Well, I've never seen it before, so I don't know if we missed it or maybe it fell, maybe in the tax collector's office they missed it. But, yes.
I feel like I got yelled at. We missed it.
But it's not, it's a ton of money, but I get it. It is a lot of money for some people, so.
Yeah. Okay.
But we'll get these out. Usually I sign them out until we approve them and they go out probably the next mail. So we have first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so, vacancies and appointments. We have two appointments this evening that are existing members on the JRD. Let's see, sorry. Catherine Holridge, who's up on May 10th, and Cheryl Beckett, who's up on May 23rd, I believe.
Didn't we just appoint?
Seems like it was
Holdridge?
just yesterday we just did Holdridge. It's May 10th, 2025, her term expired, so this was May 10th.
Oh,
last year. And then Cheryl Beckett is May 23rd. It's only a 1-year term. Well, you know what? It says Captain Holdridge, May 10th, filled position left vacant by,
Okay, so it's
Passing
to
of
fill a
Joe Rose.
vacancy. That makes sense.
yeah.
All right, so I'll make a motion to appoint, as read.
So it would be Captain Holdridge and Cheryl Beckett. Okay. Favor say aye.
Aye.
any public comment on agenda items or non-agenda items? at
We
this
have
moment?
one in the audience.
Yes. Make your way up here through the crowd.
John Gatch on North Wesley Road. Brett brought up a point about the parking. We got the voting on May 19th. If we could just alert Troy and them to not park there, because like we said, we see it, it's full. And there'll be, even this side parking lot is so full.
Yeah, so I've
Always
had
put voters.
conversations already with Troy in the early learning center. So Samantha has her cars parked. She talks to the library. They park in the library parking lot. So that frees up that side. And Troy has his people parked over there. So yes, I'll make sure that gets done.
Just students is what I'm concerned about. 'cause you
All the
see 'em-
students, so I'll make, yeah, good point.
That's the thing is that students, like I know that you always handle the personnel, the employees, but if students are parking, they're not gonna
I can
know.
get them park in the lot over near the pickleball courts.
Yeah,
And that'll
that's
keep this front lot open.
Thank you.
That's good.
Thanks, John.
And since you brought that up, regarding that, they are aware, so the front door will be unlocked, because I know that was an issue, I think, last year.
It was with, at that time, the administrative assistant, yeah, so I'll make sure he knows that, because he has someone new there, but the door will stay unlocked during the day.
Right.
No other public comment. Our next meeting is Friday. So it says May 20th, but we know we have on Friday, so I'll get that agenda out tomorrow and hopefully get some pricing by Friday on the excavator.
Motion to adjourn.
Yep. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so we're gonna be adjourning at 7:36.
It's a record.